All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining for another YouTube live. We're also live on Facebook and X. So thank you all for joining on the various um, channels that you're joining from. So thank you so much. It's good to see you. Just back doing the lives again on a weekly basis. And so usually typically around this time, maybe an hour and a half earlier. Just depends on the week. So my schedule changes and have different things that come up, but should be close to around this time on this day. So we'll go from there. Also wanted to give a shout out to Jeremy at Meat Mode. He was having issues, with eating and his health, and then apparently he saw one of my videos, and it gave him some motivation to sort of hang in there and push through with a carnivore diet. And apparently he's having really good results. So really happy for you, Jeremy. I'm glad that that you're doing well, and I'm really glad that my videos can help. That's really good to hear. So so congratulations, good job, and keep up the good work. Okay, let's see. So, well, it looks like, okay, so we'll start with this question. Also, everyone, I've got about 40 minutes. I've got a sort of a hard stop, so I have to stop at the half hour. So try to get your questions in now. I'll try to answer all the ones that we can. Might have to stop the super chats at a certain point as well if we're sort of getting more than I think I can answer. If I do run out of time, I'll pick it up next time and cover whatever super chat questions that I don't get a chance to do today, but we'll try to get to all of them. Question from Francois Barnard, who says, started the carnivore diet 2 weeks ago, initially lost 8 kg, but only been gaining weight in small quantities since then. I only have one adrenal gland. Is the cortisol the reason? Possibly. I mean, you'd have to test your cortisol to check. The only real accurate way to check cortisol with any reliability is doing like 24-hour urine cortisol, which is a bit of a pain because you have to carry a jug around with you. And just anytime you have to pee in that jug or pee in something and then put it in the jug. But anyway, you have to collect it, and you have to collect 24 hours worth of urine and to see how much cortisol your body is using and producing. So that's a way to check your cortisol. But there's a lot of different reasons why people might be gaining weight, and it may not have anything to do with anything going wrong. It could be, that you're working out. If you're lifting weights and you're working out, you're actually going to put on muscle. The thought is that if you're going to put on muscle, you're necessarily going to gain fat along with it. And if you're losing fat, you necessarily have to lose muscle along with it. So you're trying to balance out getting a couple pounds of lean body mass and things like that. It's total nonsense. That's only if you're eating garbage or basically carbs. So if you're just eating a carnivore diet, a ketogenic carnivore diet, you can absolutely put on muscle and lose fat at the same time. I did it. Thousands of other people are doing it. So there's no reason to suspect that you can't do that. And that is a very common weight loss stall that people have, and they get very worried, where people are doing great. They're feeling amazing. Their clothes are fitting much more loosely, and their belts are going down notches, but their weight's not moving. And they're like, well, I'm working out, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing all these things, but I'm not losing weight. What the hell's going on? It's like, well, you're losing fat and you're gaining muscle, and that's offsetting it. I mean, I lost 23 pounds in the first 10 days. A lot of that's going to be water weight, but some of it's going to be fat as well. And then I lost nothing for a good 6 months because I was working out heavily and playing rugby and lifting weights 3-4 hours a day, every day, and maybe had one rest day a week. If that, I sometimes didn't even take a rest day because my body just recovered so well. But either way, I was putting on muscle and I was losing fat. And so I could see my body changing, and I've never cared about my weight. In fact, being an athlete, I sort of like being a bit heavier because that gives me more bulk to throw around into people. And so I was happy weighing the same. I thought it was hilarious that I just weighed exactly the same to the pound every single day. And for 6 months, and then I hurt my knee, and then I couldn't squat, I couldn't sprint, and I actually lost weight then because I started losing muscle mass in my legs. So that's not what I wanted. So you don't want to lose fat, or you want to lose fat. You don't want to lose weight. So weight could be lean body mass. Ozempic, you lose weight, but 40% of that weight is lean body mass that you do not want to lose. And then when you regain the weight, 100% of that weight is fat because you haven't corrected their eating habits and their diet and lifestyle. So, so keep that in mind. Are you stalling because you're putting on muscle and it's just a scale thing, or are you actually putting on fat? If you're putting on fat, then it could be that sometimes you're not even eating enough, or you're leaving some things in. Are you doing carnivore? Some people say carnivore, that to them, they mean just they're eating a lot more meat and they're eating mostly meat. But what carnivore really is you are eating nothing else except meat. And those little things that you keep in your diet can absolutely stall your weight loss. Dairy is a big weight loss stall. Artificial sweeteners are a major weight loss stall. And so on. Obviously, carbs, if you're still including carbs, that's going to slow you down as well. Increasing fat, that's something that people find a lot helps them with fat loss. If they're not eating enough, that can slow down your metabolism. Your body thinks you're like in the winter time and food is scarce, so your body has to really preserve the fat that's on your body to make it through the lean times. And if you start eating a lot more, your body goes, great, everything's great. We'll open it up because we have plenty of food available. Fat increase can help us as well. Again, for that same thing, you need this fat, because if you're not eating enough fat, your body's saying, okay, well, we're not getting enough of what we need. Again, going to slow down the metabolism. But also, there are new studies showing that as you increase calories from fat and reduce calories from protein, that this can elicit the increased production of FGF21, which is a hormone that triggers fat usage, lipolysis. And so you burn a lot more fat. In fact, you can burn up to 400 more calories, again, using this outdated sort of way of thinking, but, just for ease of communication, increases basal metabolic rate by 400 kilocalories a day. So this is the premise behind the sugar diet, where people are saying they're losing all this weight eating a bunch of candy and nonsense. Well, how does that work? Well, they're reducing their protein intake significantly, and that's triggering FGF21. And there's a study that's out that's actually showed, okay, well, you can do that with carbs. You can also do that with fat. If you can increase the fat, it's really about the protein being low, not the carbs being high or even the fat being high. So the protein being low is the main thing there. And that triggers FGF21, and that triggers fat loss. But, if you do it with the sugar diet, you're going to get malnourished because it's very devoid of nutrition. You're also going to get metabolic disease and metabolic dysfunction, long-term harm from the glycation, from the high blood sugar. And that will cause harm. Whether or not you're insulin resistant or whatever, you are going to cause damage from glycation. And that is what kills diabetics. That's what damages the vasculature. It causes heart disease. It causes number one cause of kidney dysfunction is high blood sugar. Number one cause of blindness in adults is diabetic retinopathy from that high blood sugar damaging the renal vessels, damaging the vessels in your toes and your feet. So people have to get amputations, and now they need prosthetics and things like that. So this causes major damage just from that high blood sugar. And so over time, you're going to damage yourself. Whatever else happens, you are going to damage your vasculature, and you're going to get end organ damage from that damage from the high blood sugar. So be very careful with that. And so keep that in mind. If that's something that we see when people go carnivore and they sort of hit a stall, if it's, if it's not muscle that they're putting on because they're working out, sometimes they're under eating, or they're under eating fat in particular. And then when they start eating enough fat and their body says, right, and everything opens up, whether that's FGF21 or something else for their particular circumstance, something happens anyway. Okay. So there's another question from Barbara Newton. Hey, buddy. Sorry, the cat's still coming around. And Barbara says, I was recently diagnosed with stage 3B chronic kidney disease. I'm hoping carnivore can help. Well, I mean, this ties into the last question, because if you reduce your blood sugar and you reduce your glycation, you're going to improve your vasculature, and you're going to stop damaging yourself, and you're going to stop damaging the small vessels in your kidneys. And you can absolutely reverse chronic kidney disease. I've seen it stage 4, stage 5 chronic kidney disease actually reverse. So you need to drink enough water, but you also need to not eat carbohydrates and a bunch of plant toxins that are nephrotoxic, meaning they damage your kidneys, like oxalates. Oxalates are really damaging and hard on the kidneys, and so that's something that you need to look into as well. But again, diabetes, high blood sugar is the number one cause of chronic kidney disease. And so, yes, going carnivore can absolutely help that. There are other causes of kidney damage and kidney failure. Many of them come from plants. And so, if you're doing a ketogenic carnivore diet, you are going to remove many causes of chronic kidney disease. And in fact, ketogenic diets have been shown to improve and even reverse polycystic kidney disease. Out of University of California, Santa Barbara, there's a gentleman, Professor Thomas Wimes, who is the researcher whose lab figured this out, and down at UCSB. And I've had him on my podcast, so people can check him out. It's, Thomas Wimes is spelled Weimbs. And so it's a very interesting conversation. And he's all for ketogenic carnivore diets because he says they're so beneficial for kidney function. So yes, I do think that can help. There are other causes of kidney dysfunction, but hopefully you can remove and eliminate those as well and improve your function. But that's great. Just remember that protein does not in any way, shape, or form damage your kidneys or kidney function. That studies actually show the opposite, that increased protein consumption actually improves kidney function because you're giving yourself substrate for this to grow, heal, and repair, and you're giving your body what it needs, and you're eliminating out things that it doesn't need. So pretty straightforward that would help. But also, your kidney function can be monitored and measured in a number of different ways. One of them is looking at your creatinine, which often will come down and improve. But that's also a metabolite of protein as well. So if you have more protein in your diet or you have more muscle in your frame, you can actually get a higher creatinine, even though your kidney function is actually improving. So the most accurate marker of kidney function when you have a high protein diet is called cystatin C. So cystatin, letter C, and that will look at your kidney function and filtration rate. And not be affected by protein. So that's what you want to look at. And I have seen that. I've definitely seen people's creatinine come straight down. But I've also seen people like CKD4, CKD5, where their creatinine wasn't really budging. Don't know what happened there. Don't know why that. Okay. No idea. No idea what's going on there. Very sorry about that. Um, my internet just so yeah, now it's just unplugging my mic and things like that. My cat like shook its head and bat and it sort of knocked into the mic and then just everything just shut down. So apparently touching a microphone is just cause of disaster these days. So don't know what is going on. So in any case, hopefully that answers your question, Barbara, um, and about the chronic kidney disease. And good luck with that. Okay. Everyone wants to show the cat. So this is a little boy. Haven't seen him in a while. Hello, buddy. Sorry. He wants to go back down. All right, so we'll go back down. And okay. So next question is from Trade Prince Gallywix. Thank you so much for the super chat. Just curious if salt can mess up the eat until it stops tasting good method. Some people suggest that it may, that it can increase the, the sort of the pleasure of eating, and that you would sort of eat a bit more, and and so I would just sort of play with it. Sometimes, especially early on, you might lose a bit more sodium than your body may want to, and so you want to make sure you are getting enough sodium replacement. Sometimes people need a lot, like up to 5 to 7 grams of salt a day. But as I have gone, my taste for salt has gone down, and I haven't wanted as much. And I've found that that I just don't really use salt at all anymore. So yeah, I'll just salt the taste, and you can play around with it. Things might taste a bit bland. You may not even want to eat, but is that because your body doesn't want the food or doesn't need the food, or is that because it's a bit bland because your body wants the salt? So early on, I'd say probably best to just salt to taste, and especially during the transition period where you could be losing more salt than you want. And that could cause low blood pressure, and you feel a bit dizzy and a bit gross because of that. Sometimes people attribute that to the keto flu, that transition during the first 2 weeks where you don't really feel your best. That could be contributed by low salt, but it can also be from just detoxing. You're withdrawing from toxins and sugar and all that sort of stuff, and there's a withdrawal process, and you don't feel great when you do that. That sort of thing. And yeah, and if keto, people can add in a whole bunch of vegetables and things like that, which can actually make you feel worse. And so people are taking out carbs and they're going in ketosis, which is really good. And they're eating a little more meat and fat, which is great. But they're also eating a whole bunch of vegetables, which are not great. And so they can feel pretty rotten from that. So that can contribute to that too. So getting back to your question, it's thought that possibly, but if you're not getting enough salt and things just taste bland, you're going to want to have a little bit less anyway. But is that because your body doesn't want the meat itself, or is that because your body wants the salt? So I would just I would just play with it yourself, and at least early on, I think it's a good idea to have a bit of salt, because you can lose too much and not feel good as a result of that. But long term, you really, you don't technically need salt added when you're on a carnivore diet long term after you've transitioned. Okay. Thank you very much, Caleb, from Caleb's Carnivore Quest, for a super chat. Or just a comment. Says, you are the reason I stayed carnivore. Thank you. Well, thank you. I'm really glad that is that my videos have been helpful, and I'm glad that's been good. And it's always nice to see people who have improved their life and their health, and done it based on my videos, which is kind of quite humbling. But it's something that I've seen certainly help myself and help my family and help my patients. Help thousands of patients at this point, and tens of thousands of people that we've helped online in our various groups. And so it's something that I think is really, and hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world just doing this independently. is that's just what we're seeing. We're seeing just more and more people get better, and so that's why I and others like me are just so passionate about this, because it really helps people. And it's so easy. It's just like, why doesn't everybody know this? It's like, because we've been brainwashed, and there have been people that have profited greatly from that brainwashing. That really pisses me off. And so I just I want to I just want to help undo that. So I'm really glad to hear that, Caleb, and thank you for the comment and the super chat, and keep it up, and keep up the good work. Okay, so next question is from Guy Thierry, who says, what's normal frequency for bowel movements on carnivore? I go every 4 days or so. I don't feel constipated. I feel I'm in ketosis. I don't think I need more fat. Nah, you don't, unless it's hard. If you have hard, dry stools, that's constipation. So constipation goes by things like the Bristol stool chart, where it's about the consistency, not the frequency. Frequency doesn't matter. What frequency tells you is that, oh, okay, it's been in there for a long time. Is that because it's dry and hard and rocky, and because normally when the longer it's in your colon, the more dried out it gets, and the more hard it's going to be at the end. You're like, oh God, this is going to be trouble. But if you're eating enough fat, it'll be soft. It doesn't matter. So water repels. Fat and water repel each other, and so the fat will stay in there. The water will get taken out, and the fat will just keep it soft. And so that can stay in your colon until Christmas. It's not going to get any drier than that, and it doesn't matter, because the fat will keep it soft. So if you're having soft stools, you're not constipated. Doesn't matter the frequency of your stools. If you are going every day and it's dry and hard, you're constipated. That's what constipation is. It's the consistency, not the frequency. And so as long as you're getting soft stools, don't worry about when or how often you go. It's not something that needs to be tracked. If you are just eating meat, you'll absorb 98% of the meat that you eat. And so you're going to go much less often, and it's going to be a much smaller volume. So going once or twice a week is very normal on a carnivore diet. If you are cutting out the gristle and the connective tissue and just eating the soft muscle meat and the soft fat, scraped off the gristle, those sorts of things, which is less digestible, the gristle, you're going to absorb basically 100% of it. And that's what the original Salisbury steak was. It took just the lean, the muscle body and just the fat, and even added butter to that, because a lot of times the gristle would go, the fat would go with the gristle. So you removed all the gristle, and this basically gave 100% absorption. People just did not defecate, because some people were suffering from, looking back, would have been things like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, and they were horribly debilitated by this, and they really just could not have anything passing through their gut. And they had to absorb everything and not have to go to the bathroom until this was healed up after a month or two. And so to do that, he got rid of all the gristle. He sort of ground hamburger in a way with a filter that actually filtered out all the gristle, brought the fat out with it. So you had just the lean muscle body and you would add butter to that to get your fat content up. And that worked. And so you would like not go at all. I had a lady who was an elderly lady who started this, really improved her health, and she just couldn't chew the gristle. And so she just had the soft meat and the soft fat. She was eating enough fat. Her stools were soft, but she went once in 4.5 weeks. So 4.5 weeks, right? But it was soft and it was small, because her body was absorbing almost 100% of what she was eating. So that's good. So no, don't worry about frequency. Just worry about consistency. Okay. So, all right. So next question is from Kristen Carnivore. Christ and Carnivore is my cure. Who says, so grateful this way of eating. Being 40 with a tectile plate brain tumor is rare, but glad no radiation is required, as I took it in my own hand. Well, that's fantastic, and hopefully that stays that way. And tectile plate is not too much you can do, because it's not an operable. Really, it's not really something. You can't cut out the tectile plate and the surrounding areas. It's way too deep in the brain. There's way too many important things in there, and so it's not something you really want to play with. I mean, you can always do anything, but you typically wouldn't for those sorts of things. And so it would be things like radiation. And so I'm glad that that's going well. Hopefully that continues to improve, and hopefully that keeps going and is able to be controlled and managed, maybe even improved or reversed, without having to do radiation. And so good luck with that. I'm really glad to hear that. So here's a question from Yai Chipsomsong. I'm going to leave it up to you to correct me on that one, because I'm sure I got that wrong. Who says, many report hair loss after many years of carnivore. What is it? What could be caused from? Usually not after years of carnivore. I mean, that could just be normal hair loss. But you can get an initial fallout phase when you're going any ketogenic diet, because just going to nutritional ketosis can trigger a fallout phase in your hair follicles. It's not mean they're dying, it just means that they're going to fall out for a bit and then they're going to regrow. And typically they regrow healthier and even thicker. So, especially, but you have to think of other sorts of causes as well, things like low thyroid, nutritional deficiencies, things like that. So as long as you're getting enough protein, if you're doing a lot of fasting, low protein, like under 100 grams of protein a day, people have reported hair loss when they are not eating at least 100 grams of protein a day. But it depends on your size too. If you're very small, then you may not actually need that. This is just averages for different studies. And so things like fasting, sometimes you see sort of hair loss, but then that can be mitigated, like prolonged fasting. That can be mitigated with like 100 grams of protein a day, for instance. But again, fasting would put you into a state of ketosis, which could again trigger that hair loss as well. And so, but that comes back. It comes back. So if you're getting hair loss down the road, like years down the road, you would want to start thinking about, is there something else going on? It shouldn't be from carnivore. Most people report that after that initial fallout phase, if they get it, many people don't, their hair grows back more thickly. I've seen that in so many patients. I mean, I have women that come in and they have like all this new growth. So they, because their hair is long, the hair is short, it's too short to sort of fall over, and so they have this sort of these spiky halo above their head. It's just all this hair sort of sticking out, through their hair, and they're like, yeah, this is my halo, and so but that's really reassuring, because you're like, wow, I mean, all this new hair growth, it's all coming back, right? So that's good. And but long term down the road, I mean, that shouldn't really happen on carnivore. So it could just be just your natural genetics, that your body is starting to lose hair, and that's just when you're losing it. But you have to think about, again, thyroid and nutrition. So making sure that you have enough B12, even though you will be getting enough in your diet. Are you absorbing it? Are you utilizing it properly? Are you methylating it, right? So making sure that you're in sort of high normal to optimal levels of these nutrients. I have a lot of videos where I talk about various optimal nutritional areas. Like for B12 would be 800 to 1200 picomoles per liter, or 1100 to 1600 picograms per milliliter. Vitamin D would be 140 to 180 nanomoles per liter, that sort of thing. But there are others. Basically, you want to be on the high end of normal, if not slightly above. Usually for B12, if you're not high, you're low. And so that's what you want to do. And then thyroid, a lot of people just test TSH. Oh, your TSH is fine. But that doesn't tell you what your active T3 is. If you have normal T4 and you have normal TSH, but you have abnormal T3, you're hypothyroid. Like, that's it, because the T3 is the active form. And so if you don't have enough of the active form, you're not going to have the same physiological benefits. So that's important to check, TSH, T4, and T3, to make sure that you see that. And you can even go one step further and go reverse T3, which actually counteracts the function of T3. And so even if you have normal T3, but you have abnormally high reverse T3, you could be effectively hypothyroid, and that can definitely affect hair loss. Also, you have to think of all the different products you're using. There are a lot of shampoos that directly damage your hair, and there's a thing that came out. Johnson & Johnson bought up a bunch of shampoos that were known to cause hair loss, and they actually started marketing those and selling those and then came out with Rogaine, and so they're causing your hair loss, and then they they cause a hair loss, and then they add in, and then you have to buy the Rogaine to try to prevent the hair loss. So it's just a grift, is what it is, what that is. So think about the products that you're using, you're putting in your hair as well. And yeah, says, I don't know how to thank you enough. Your content basically saved my life from a health perspective. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you saying that, and I'm just really glad that you're doing better. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're doing better and not having problems. And so good job, and thank you for being here and helping support the lives and the show, and I'm sure you'll be influencing many other people in your life as well that can get just the same benefits you do. So thank you for that. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna close off the super chats because I've got about 7 minutes. So unfortunately, just the internet issues were a bit of a problem. So we'll do as much of these as we can. So Peter Shoemaker, thank you so much for the super chat. Peter says, I started Carnivore a week ago and my dermatitis and brain fog are gone. Awesome, that's great to hear. But I'm getting bad TMJ right away. I don't think it's from over chewing. I'm salting to taste and consuming 4 to 5 grams a day. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, could be completely unrelated, but a lot of people have reported that their TMJ does improve, long-term ketogenic diets reduce inflammation. Certainly ketogenic carnivore diets, because you're not taking in all these plant toxins that have these further lectins and pro-inflammatory compounds that will cause more of a problem. So hopefully long term that does go away. Obviously TMJ is a bit of a beast, because you need your jaw, and it's really hard to chew when you have that. So I'm really sorry that happens. Sometimes you can have sort of worsening symptoms early on, like you're the first week in. Sometimes these weird sort of spurts. Sometimes you get oxalate dumping that can absolutely cause TMJ. It can cause gout. It can affect any of your joints. Certainly your TMJ. And so hopefully that just resolves and settles itself down. But if it doesn't or gets worse, maybe do think about oxalates and see how that might play into what you're doing. But hopefully in the coming weeks, this will just settle down on its own. And sometimes there are little mouthpieces and other sorts of things that you can do, have and sleep with and things like that can help sort of keep that together and help your body sort of heal and recover. So if your doctor can help you with that, and that's a good option too, and hopefully it just settles down on its own. So glad to hear you're doing better. I'm sure you will get a lot better. I mean, after sort of the 2-3 week mark, people really start improving more and more and more. And after 3 months, you get 4 times the number of mitochondria. They're 4 times as effective. So that's a huge boost to your health and your metabolism. And then you actually keep getting mitochondrial improvements for up to 2.5-3 years being in ketosis. So you're going to keep improving. You're going to keep improving your nutrition profile as well, and start optimizing all those vitamins and minerals and fats and proteins that you almost certainly didn't have optimized previously. And you'll find far-reaching improvements. Your hormones are going to improve, and hormones have a many month, 3, 6 months, a year knock-on effect of things that they improve in turn, because they change your genetic expression. So this is going to have huge far-reaching influences and impacts that keep getting better as you go. So, if you're already doing great after a week, you're in for a wonderful surprise. So super chat from CD. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's very, very kind of you. CD says, I've been dealing with digestive issues for 3 months, yellow stool, sometimes solid, and diarrhea, urgency and burning feeling in colon, colonoscopy, endoscopy clear, but still having issues. Any thoughts? Might carnivore help? I definitely think carnivore would help. You can have all sorts of strange inflammatory issues and problems with digestion because your body is not designed to digest plants. It can't digest plants. It can't break down fiber at all. And many of the different nutrients are bound up in ways that we don't have enzymes to break down. So we cannot digest them. We cannot break them down. And ones that we do break down and digest have very low bioavailability. Our body's very inefficient at breaking them down, which again is proof positive that we are not designed to eat these things, right? So don't eat them. Eat the things your body is designed to eat, which is meat. Your body breaks it down and absorbs 98 to 100% of the meat that you eat. So that's, again, proof positive that we are designed to eat this, or at least is good argument for that. So I would absolutely do that. A lot of people find that their gut issues massively improves, and their digestion massively improves, and the burning, the urgency, all these sorts of things are better. It's very good that you got endoscopies and colonoscopies to make sure that there wasn't anything that untoward going on. So really what it comes down to is what you're eating. I mean, how is it something else, right? Because what you're putting in your mouth is what's ultimately getting absorbed, but then the rest of it's coming out of you. And so if you're ingesting things that aren't good for your body, aren't good for your digestion, aren't able to be broken down, digested, that's what you're going to see on the other end. And so you switch to eating meat, your body's going to absorb almost all of it. It's going to change your microbiome. It's going to change your genetic expression. It's going to change your health. It's going to change what comes out the other end. So I 100% think that carnivore diet will help. Not just might help, but will help. And but do it strict. Get rid of all plants. Get rid of all fiber. Just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Get enough fat so that your stools are soft but not liquid. And make sure that if you're getting hard stools, that you're eating more fat. That hard stools means you're not eating enough fat. It doesn't matter how much fat you're eating. If you're getting hard stools, you're not eating enough fat. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Remember that coffee, tea, artificial sweeteners, even magnesium supplements, especially things like magnesium oxide, and even medications like metformin, they can all cause loose stools as well, so they can screw up your digestion also. So get rid of all of those if you can. Obviously, if you're on medication, then you're on medication. It might not be an appropriate time to come off of that. But eventually, you should be able to come off things like metformin, because this reverses diabetes as well, so type 2 diabetes. So that is something that most people will come off of in the first few months, actually, of going on a carnivore diet, ketogenic carnivore diet. It's really important to stress that it's not just eat meat; it's also don't eat other things, and that means carbs and sugar, and unfortunately, that means fruit and honey as well. Because actually being in a state of ketosis is actually beneficial, and that's what the long-term studies show. I've been doing this for better part of a decade, and I've never been better. My bloods are still through the roof, and I don't have any of the issues that people say that you'll get with long-term ketosis. People saying that, oh, I've been in ketosis for a year and a half, and my thyroid tanked, and my testosterone tanked. Yeah, mine's just getting better. Whatever happened to them, it wasn't ketosis. It was something else that was happening. And but we have people are in ketosis naturally in the wild, Inuit, etc. They're just eating meat, and it's a big deal to your health. It actually improves your health a lot in a lot of ways. So good luck with that. I definitely think it will help. So do give it a try. Give it a solid month, at least 30 days. Really, it's better to give it 90 days, 3 months, but at least 30 days, because it takes about 2 weeks to get all this crud out of your system and sort of start getting through that adaptation period. And then sort of weeks 3 and 4, you start feeling, wow, I feel a lot better. But you should see a big difference in your digestion pretty early on, because that's what you're eating. You sort of clear all that excess stuff out in a couple of days, and then it's all of a sudden, it's very different. So yeah, good luck with that. Okay, so Tahoe, thank you very much for the super chat. CT scan shows fatty liver morphology, suggests fibrotic changes, potential developing of cirrhosis. I've committed to a strict carnivore diet. Can I reverse this? Well, I'm really glad you've done that, and yes, you can. Certainly, the fatty liver. I mean, that's been shown. A recent study with ketosis, that just being in a state of ketosis has other mechanisms of action to reverse fatty liver besides fat oxidation and lipolysis. It's not just burning the fat that's in the liver. It actually has a metabolic benefit to reversing fatty liver. On top of that, also you're getting rid of plant toxins, which cause damage to your liver. So there are a lot of these things, the coumarins, etc., that cause that have to be detoxified, and all these things have to be detoxified in your liver, pretty much. And your liver has to work overtime, and it damages it. But the sugar and the carbs are major contributing factors. Obviously, alcohol, but everyone knows alcohol is damaging to the liver. So, but sugar can cause fatty droplets and fatty infiltration into liver. It can even progress into cirrhosis as well, which is the scarring of the liver as well. And then there are carbs as well. So we know that fructose deposits fatty droplets in the liver. I mean, I was taught that in biochemistry bloody decades ago, and that's been shown again from more recent studies as well. So that can cause fatty liver disease. But then, how do we make fatty liver in animals that we eat? Foie gras literally is French for fatty liver, and that's just it's like butter yellow, and they get this liver that's just completely full of fat. And then they slice that up and serve it as a delicacy, right? Well, how do they do that? They force feed ducks and geese carbs. It's just a bunch of grains. Literally put a funnel down their throat and pour grains into their stomach to force feed them. And guess how long it takes to get 100% fatty infiltration of their liver until it's butter yellow? 2 weeks, just 2 weeks. So they force feed them every day for 2 weeks, and then they kill them and process the body, and that's it. Foie gras, 2 weeks. So it just takes 2 weeks to get fully infiltrated fatty liver if you're just overeating grains, carbs, right? We get fatty infiltrated in our muscles, and we wonder, why is this? It's associated with metabolic disease. Okay, right. How do we do that in cows? How do you get marbling in cows? That's myosteatosis. That's fatty infiltration of the muscles. You feed them a whole bunch of grains and carbs, right? So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. This is basic physiology. And we see this phenomenon all the time. We do this on purpose. We've done this on purpose for centuries, millennia, to get this exact result in animals that we eat. And now we're surprised that this is doing it to us. In fact, most people aren't surprised because they've said this, going back hundreds of years. They've said, like, yeah, don't eat carbs because it deposits fat. It causes this, it causes that. And then just in the last 50 years, we've said, no, carbs, because fat's bad. Forgetting everything that we knew, the entire totality of human information, we've just thrown out the window and just be like, no, that's all wrong now. And we've had the exact opposite results that they said we would get. So yes, this can certainly reverse fatty liver. The cirrhosis, scar tissue, that's thought to be permanent, that you can't reverse that. But there's one individual that I've come across that actually had full-blown cirrhosis in his liver. This is a patient of Dr. Sean Baker's. And I was talking to Dr. Baker, and he was saying that actually he was able to actually on imaging was able to reverse his cirrhosis, so he didn't have any sign of that. I don't know if he got a CT or like an MRI, but whatever he got, they showed that he didn't have any cirrhosis anymore, and he had like profound cirrhosis before that. And so his doctors were like freaking out. They're like, that's not possible. We've never seen that. So now they're putting him in for a liver biopsy to actually see, is there still some cirrhosis, or has this actually been reversed? So, I haven't heard back after that. I don't know what happened with the biopsy, but that's at least very encouraging that something like that can be reversible, which I didn't know. But if anything can do it, the liver can. I mean, the liver is so amazing at regeneration. I mean, you think of the story of Prometheus and the eagle eating out its liver every day, and every day it regrows. I mean, there's meaning behind these myths and things like that. So yeah, so it could very well be that it can regrow and rebuild and even undo that scar tissue, but it can at least get rid of the fatty liver and improve functionality. And you don't need much. I mean, if you have sort of developing cirrhosis, even if that didn't go away, you have plenty of healthy liver left over after you got rid of the fatty liver disease, that you never miss the part that is cirrhotic. So yeah, so yes, I definitely think that you should you can improve things by going carnivore, definitely. And then there's just a super sticker from Gilbert Gumard. Sorry. again, I'm not good at all these names, but I do my best. But anyway, from Gilbert, thank you so much, Gilbert, for the super sticker. And that's yeah, so that's the questions that we had. Sorry, this was a bit of a shorter one, everyone, and then it got shortened even further by the weird technical issues. But thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to try to do more of these, try to do these every week, and try to set out a bit more time to this week. Unfortunately, I just got I've just got some appointments and things like that that I have to go to. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next week. And I'll try to see if I can block out a bit more time and possibly do twice a week, but at least once a week for a bit longer, and we'll go from there. So thank you all very much, and we will see you next time.